Some towns are strange because of what people built. Setenil de las Bodegas is strange because of what people built beneath. In southern Spain, in the province of Cádiz, this small Andalusian town sits along a narrow gorge carved by the Trejo River. Instead of spreading only across open ground parts of Setenil Press into the rock itself, streets run close to natural overhangs. Houses, shops, and restaurants use the cliff as part of their shelter. In some places, the stone forms a roof that was never placed there by human hands. The immediate question is simple. Why would anyone choose to live under a cliff? The answer begins with geography. The river cut through the limestone over a very long time, leaving sheltered spaces along the gorge. For early residents, those spaces were useful. They offered shade protection from weather and a natural structure that could be adapted instead of completely rebuilt. Setenil also developed as a fortified settlement during a complicated medieval period in southern Spain. Its position within the gorge helped shape how people lived, defended, and expanded the town. Over generations, builders added walls and whitewashed fronts, while leaving the rock above and behind them in place. That choice still matters. The stone helps soften the extremes of summer heat and winter cold. The town is not a ruin or a stage set. It is a living place where unusual geography became part of daily architecture. What makes Setenil fascinating is not that people fought the landscape. It is that they accepted one of its strangest features and made it domestic. A cliff became a ceiling, a gorge became a street plan, and a small Spanish town became proof that geography does not just surround a settlement, sometimes it becomes part of the house. In the Australian desert, one town learned that the best way to survive the surface was to move part of life below it. Coober Pedy sits in northern South Australia, far from the country's biggest cities, in a dry interior landscape known for heat dust and opal. The town is often described as the opal capital of Australia, but its most unusual feature is not only what was found underground, it is how many people chose to live there. Coober Pedy developed around opal mining in the early 20th century. Miners arrived looking for valuable stone beneath the ground. But the same landscape that offered opal also made ordinary surface life difficult. Summer heat can be intense and shade is precious. Building above ground meant facing a harsh climate every day. So people adapted the way miners often do. They dug homes known as dugouts, were carved into hillsides, or excavated into the ground. The idea was practical, not theatrical. Below the surface temperatures stay far more stable than they do outside. A dugout can feel cooler during hot periods and less exposed during cold desert nights. Over time, this underground approach spread beyond simple shelter. Coober Pedy became known for subterranean homes, churches, accommodation, and community spaces. The town is not entirely underground, and it is not a hidden city. It is a working settlement, shaped by resource extraction and climate. Its geography forced a question that most towns never have to answer if the surface is uncomfortable. Why not make the ground itself part of the solution? That is why Coober Pedy still captures the imagination. It turns a mining landscape into a living strategy. The opal brought people there, but the desert changed how they stayed. In many towns, the ground is just something to stand on. In Coober Pedy, it became shelter, workplace, and identity. There is a town in Alaska where geography helped push much of daily life into a single towering building. Whittier sits on Prince William Sound, surrounded by steep terrain, water, and weather that can make movement difficult. It is not a large town, but it has become famous for an unusual arrangement. A large share of residents live in Beach Towers, a former military building that now functions as a residential hub. The reason is not a gimmick, it comes from location. Whittier's modern story was strongly shaped by military needs during the Second World War and the Cold War period. The site offered access to deep water and a strategic position in coastal Alaska. But the same geography that made it useful also constrained it. Mountains limited easy expansion. Heavy snow and wet weather shaped daily routines. For a long time, access depended heavily on rail links through a tunnel and road access. Later followed the same narrow corridor. When a place is hemmed in by terrain and climate compact living starts to make sense, Baggage Towers contains apartments and has supported everyday services in ways that blur the line between building and neighborhood. Nearby civic spaces, school life harbor activity, and transport links all reflect the same basic fact. Whittier has less room to spread than most towns. The result is a settlement that feels unusually compressed. In many places, a town is a web of streets, blocks, and distant suburbs. In Whittier, geography encouraged a more vertical kind of community, where shelter, convenience, and survival are closely connected. Whittier still functions because people have adapted to the limits around them. Its oddness is practical. The mountains, the water, the tunnel, and the weather all helped write the rules. And that is the larger pattern behind these unusual towns. When geography becomes difficult, humans do not always leave. Sometimes they reorganize life around it.